Okay, welcome to all of you. My name is Dr. Iuspa and I have with me Dr. Daniela Foerch. Today we are here to go over and to provide you a very interesting seminar on habits of mind. So the first thing we would like to do is to know you guys. So please go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Hi, my name is Brittany. I'm a major in psychology and this is my last year.
My name is Flavia, and I'm a student seeking a bachelor's in education.
Okay, thank you. We shall have one more person. We just want to make sure that
Yes.
can fit here.
Sit here. Okay, thank you. Hi. I'm sorry, can you repeat it? My name is Daniela. I'm a student here at FIU seeking a bachelor's in education.
Early childhood or
Early childhood education with ESOL judgment.
Great. Okay, we'll go here. If you would like to tell us who you are, please introduce yourself.
My name is Foerch Griffiths. I am a student here at FIU and I am doing early childhood education with ESOL.
Okay.
This is my last, well, of course I'm doing my last course, so I'm dying to finish.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Daniela Costin. I'm a special student in school psychology, and I'm in my second year, so one more year to go.
Perfect, thank you.
My name is Andres Cantillo, and I'm the IT here, and I also studying IT for my bachelor's
Okay.
at FIU.
Wonderful, thank you. So today we would like to do 3 major goals that we would like for you to get out of this session. And we're going to explore them through 3 essential questions. Question number 1 is, what are the habits of mind? Question number 2, why are the habits of mind important? And number 3 is, how can we nurture the habits of mind in ourselves and in our students? So we're going to start moving along with question number 1. So what is a habit?
And you think about this question, what is a habit? Reflect on it, and then you can either write it down on a post-it note, or just we'll give you 30 seconds to think about it, and then you can share.
Okay, so we're ready. So what is a habit? I would like to start sharing. Okay, what do you write down?
I wrote something that's done in repetition.
Okay, something that you do in repetition, so it is ingrained in you, in your personality, okay?
I wrote a behavior that you do constantly.
Okay, good. A behavior that you do constantly, perhaps either a good behavior or a bad behavior. So, good. What did you write down?
I put something that's done like constantly, but subconsciously, like you don't want to do it.
Okay, good point. So behaviors is a pattern that you tend to do constantly, and sometimes it comes out without even you noticing. So it's an unconscious kind of attitude behavior. Okay.
I have a regular behavior, something that you do without thinking, it just comes naturally.
Exactly, similar to what it was explained. Good.
I have something that you do without much thought.
Yes, it is true. Okay.
Something you repeat often without thinking, so like a habit like brushing your teeth.
Exactly. So when we think about habits of mind, then therefore we kind of like assess that based on everything that you have explained to us, it is a habit or a tendency that we tend to repeat and do constantly in our minds, perhaps without even thinking. So when we,
No, I just wanted to just ask you, so you said that there are good and bad habits. Can you please provide us with an example of a bad habit, for example?
Smoking,
Smoking,
too much drinking,
drinking,
excessive drinking.
yes,
Um,
gambling,
okay.
Shouting when you're mad.
shouting when you're mad,
Okay, instead of perhaps elevating your argument or trying to explain
Yes.
yourself, okay, that's a good point. What else?
Eating with your mouth full.
Okay,
eating with
eating
your mouth
full.
full, or talking with your mouth full, yes.
Sorry, talking with your mouth full, that's the correct thing to say, I'm sorry.
No, but that's okay. It's sometimes when you have your
Yeah.
mouth too full, that's
Yeah,
also
too full.
It's like
my
small drug.
son.
Cutting people off when they're talking.
Cutting
Okay.
people off, yes.
Text
Very
while-
good.
Text while driving.
Texting while driving,
Not listening.
speeding, what else?
Not listening.
Yeah, listen.
Not listening,
Jump into conclusion.
jumping to conclusions.
Okay, so then there's different type of, from what I hear, there are different type of habits. We have those that are of the mind, right? Like, with listening, not jumping into conclusions or not paying attention to someone who is talking and we just cut them off. And then we have those that are more related to actual things that like we do, like, like eating with your mouth open or perhaps driving and texting. So this time what we would like to focus is on those habits of mind that relate to your mind. What are those habits of mind that help us to improve ourselves when we engage in perhaps in teaching or communicating with others, or either just teaching our younger ones or
life,
everyday life. So one question that we would like for you to perhaps take like 2 minutes, I think 2 minutes.
Yes.
If I want you to please tell us, what is it about your students that makes you think they need to learn how to think? What are some attributes or behaviors that you see in your students that give you that clue that perhaps they need to learn how to think?
And it can be your children too, or children that you see around. What do you see them doing? What do you hear them saying? How do you think they feel that makes you think that they don't know how to think?
So take 2 minutes.
And you can write it down. You can use the same Post-it, or you can take another one or another index card.
And you can do just bullets, like if you see something that has to be like a full sentence, just bullets.
You said that they don't know how to think.
Yeah,
Yes.
they don't know. What do you see them doing that makes you think that they don't know how to think?
Yeah, maybe
Okay, great. Let's share.
I wrote when they cannot find the words to express their feelings and act out.
Very good. Yes. And we see this often. When they cannot express their feelings, they
They don't
act
know what to
out.
do.
They don't know what to do, and they're frustrated. Thank you.
Okay.
I put when they do things that you tell them not to do, like you've already said don't do it, and they continuously still repeat that same
Okay,
behavior or
and why
action.
do you think they engage in that repetitive behavior, even though you tell them not to?
I think it's for attention or to get a reaction.
I think it's also curiosity. Like they want to find out why you're actually telling them that.
Not to.
Why the reason why you tell them don't touch it, it's hot.
But then, even though, yes, they follow direction, but you tell them not to do something and they do it and then they get a punishment, but they go back and do it again.
But also when you ask them why did you do it, they cannot find the words to actually tell
Tell
you
you.
why they did what they did, even though they knew they weren't supposed to do it. But then you ask them why did you do it, and they're just like,
I don't
You
know.
I don't know.
Okay, so
So
that
maybe
perhaps
they
we get
need more guidance,
Yes.
and more
Guidance.
explanations instead of.
exactly, or just tell them not
This is
to.
you get punished, you get a consequence. You broke the rule, but maybe they don't understand what the rule really is. So
Yeah.
let's do it together.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
because they can't be expressive doesn't mean they're not really thinking.
Okay, and what do you mean by that?
Because like I can tell my son not to do something or don't do something, but even if I put him in timeout, I know that he's thinking about what he did, but he just can't express to me. And then later on, maybe sometimes he might say sorry or anything, but doesn't mean he didn't think about what he did. He doesn't know how to
What do you
express.
mean by thinking? That's a very good point, but what do you mean by thinking?
Like making decisions before he does something, or
Yes.
thinking about it after he has done it.
Yeah, so maybe before, he does it again, thinking about, what did I do and how can I prevent this later? And how old is your son? 2. So that's also an age where,
They are beginning to
uh,
understand
yes.
that there are consequences of actions.
but they don't accept
That
it
they're not
anyways.
accepting.
At that age that they don't accept it. It's a very delicate particular age. So, but you're right, he's thinking maybe, or is it your son? but maybe he doesn't have those dispositions yet. Maybe he has not internalized those dispositions that are going to help them think how he can behave the next time, or why he really, because even if we put him in timeout, I'm not sure if he really understands what he did wrong.
Yeah, and to manage impulsivity, which is another that perhaps, you know, at an age so young, it is kind of like difficult to control and to manage.
Very
But
defined.
that's when you have to continue working with them letter by letter. So that's a very good point so far. So what did you?
I see that same behavior with older kids, like 5, 6, because you'll say to them, don't do this, and they says, okay, I won't do it again, and they go back and do the same thing again. You punish them and they go back and do the same thing again. They think about what they're doing, but it doesn't, I don't know, the consequence is not,
It's not
yeah,
affecting
it's not-
them,
yeah,
it's not changing their behavior, so it's not
Mhm.
effective. But how about older kids? Because you said, 5 and 6-year-olds. How about older kids? Do we see this behavior in older kids
Yeah,
as
I do.
well? Such as high schoolers, college
Sure.
students?
Yeah.
I think everyone,
Yeah.
at every age. I don't think it actually has to stop.
Yeah.
I think we
It
all.
continues,
all
because
do.
even as adults, he mentioned smoking,
Yeah.
and you hear don't smoke, but they still do it, right? They stop and they go right back.
It all that affects them health-wise. Then they will stop. For example, if they get lung cancer, they're like, oh, until you don't see an actual physical
Okay.
effect.
Consequence.
So
That's
the
what it
point
is,
that
yes.
They have to probably get to see
It has to
the
affect them
physical-
physically or mentally in
Yes.
order for them to see what's
Yeah.
going on. Until they don't see, for example, I don't know, when an accident like texting and driving. Until you don't see an
Yeah.
accident, for example, they show a video of someone texting and driving, they show a car getting teed on, and they're like, oh, that could happen
Yeah,
to me.
they think
Yes.
about
You don't do
this.
that.
Yeah.
Doesn't
It's
until that
true.
affects you
Mhm.
physically, you won't really do anything about it.
The same thing with unhealthy eating.
Correct.
Obesity. They
Obesity.
tell you obesity, you
Yeah.
need to exercise, until you go to the doctor and something really drastic happens.
And make
serious.
you
Or when you get a heart
change.
attack or something like that, then there's people that start, oh, now it's time to eat healthy after the heart attack. Why not
Okay,
before?
I think the conversation we're having,
Oh.
it raises a wonderful
Great.
point. And all the examples, and I'm coming back
Oh, no.
to all of you, but I just wanted to go into that. All the conversations that we're having is that it seems to me, I hear that we need to be forced into a drastic situation in order for us to change our habits. So we need to be faced to, but think in terms of children and education. Obviously, we do not want our children to be to the point where they are facing that drastic situation. So keep that in mind as we continue working into the habits of mind. So what did you put?
When children become very frustrated really easily, when there are other solutions to problems or other ways to do things, they kind of just focus on one thing and they don't think about other ways to think.
Okay, excellent point. Yes, it goes back to managing impulsivity or getting fixated perhaps into one solution, and then you don't know, okay, how do I go about finding or thinking outside the box? Or
Yes.
thinking with flexibility. Good
Which
point.
is very important.
What was when they repeat adults of what they say or what they do, but they don't know the consequence, like when they repeat a bad word.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as parents, we might not notice that they're copying us, but they see everything we do. So we understand why we did it, and we understand that it's bad, but they don't understand that it's bad
Yeah.
themselves.
That's true. That's very true.
So
Yes.
But it is strange that they don't know that it's bad, but the context in which they use the bad word
Yeah.
is the correct way. You know?
yeah, because they hear it from us.
Because they think it.
That they
okay.
see your reaction,
Yeah.
the reactions of
you-
others, because sometimes, others might laugh.
Yeah.
Depending on the age of the child, they think it's cute, or they
Yeah.
think they don't know what they're saying. So
Correct.
it's the reinforcement from the environment
Correct.
that is gonna, if I do this again,
get a
people are
reaction.
gonna laugh, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna be in the center
Of
of
attention.
attention.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I like that. So that's why. And then, when they start hearing others, then it becomes
Correct.
complicated.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Okay, so.
So now that you have thought about what, how your students feel and what are some of the things that you hear them saying and doing that makes you think that they don't know how to think. Now, how would you like them to be? What is it about your students? No, I'm sorry. How would you like them to be? What would you like them to say? What would you like them to do? How would you like them to feel? Whether it's in a classroom or with others. So we talked about the negative things, so what you see them doing that makes you think they don't know how to think. But how would you like them to be? For example, you share that they only have one solution to a problem sometimes, that they don't see the different other options. So if the solution is not right there, I'm not gonna, force
the extra
myself
step, yeah.
to think what other things I can do in order to solve this problem. So what would be the opposite? How would you like them to be?
Probably more creative, more open-minded.
Okay,
More
creative.
And I'm gonna type them here so that then we can save it.
So it's creative
Creative,
slash open-minded.
open-minded.
Perfect. So what else?
Ask questions.
To ask
My
questions.
goodness, ask
Perfect.
questions
Yes.
is such an important
Part of learning.
part of learning
Yes.
that they don't do it.
Especially when they don't know something, ask before they act so that they don't do the bad action.
Yeah, becoming self-aware.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Self-awareness.
Perfect.
Competent.
Competent.
Competent in what areas, or over how would you define competency in your point?
Okay, I find that where confidence is concerned, the lack of confidence create a doubt in their mind, even if they have the right answer, they're afraid to answer a
Okay.
question because they lack that self-confidence.
Okay.
Yes. So
Perfect.
to become competent,
You need to-
you also have to be confident.
Yeah.
Okay, your self-concept is very, very important. So yes,
Good.
very, very important.
Go ahead.
I'm still thinking.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fine. What would you think?
But think about what you said. It will be the opposite. For example, what did you say earlier? What did you share about what you saw that makes you think that your students or children
I
don't know how to
think being
think?
vocal, about being able to express themselves
Okay.
about what they want, about their feelings.
Okay, so express themselves.
My son actually did something this morning. He was playing with one of his toys and he had the wrong ball. You know how they have like a square, circle?
Mhm.
And
Oh,
he was
yeah.
trying to put it in, he had the wrong ball and it wouldn't go in the circle. But he knew it was a circle. He's like, the ball won't go in. So he got mad and he tossed the ball and he cracked one of his toys. So then I'm like, okay, why didn't you just ask for help? I would have told you that it was the wrong ball.
Very good. So I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that your son was frustrated.
Mhm.
And maybe the opposite would be, when sometimes we get frustrated, we need somebody to help us maybe persist.
Right, yeah.
Okay, if this is that's this square and I have a ball and it doesn't go in, let me give you some support and let me help you think what other
Why-
thing can we do if we have other materials here to see, until we find the one that fits.
Wouldn't that go with more of asking questions?
Yeah.
Because he could have simply
Yeah.
asked me and his father.
Yeah, but sometimes frustration doesn't really make you think.
Exactly.
Yeah, like
So, but it can go, it can be asking questions, it can be persisting, and what else?
No, I was just gonna
Yes.
say on what you guys were saying, like the same thing with my daughter. Like I tell her, that she needs to try in order for her to complete a task. But then she comes back and she tells me, I try and I can't. And then, but I tell her when she tells me I can't, I'm like, don't ever say that you can't. You just have to keep on trying, and eventually you learn it. It's just they want to be able to maneuver it like right then and
Yes.
there.
Okay.
So it's like, I feel like taking, yeah, like
Yes.
taking like those little baby steps for them to be able to understand that eventually they would get from point A to point B,
Yes.
but it's a process that they need to learn.
Exactly.
That's what I'm still having to work with.
That's a perfect example, and I can share one of my son, my 10-year-old, when he does his homework, you know, his math homework, there's a problem, he does it, and then I go over it, and I have to ask him, you know, you need to come back because, so he took, but I don't know it, you know, I can't do it. I said, no, I need you to reread it, and I need you to try to understand,
Yeah.
because they want, and he does it, but once we break it down and we analyze it, but he's not used to it, or he doesn't want to yet, because he wants to do everything fast.
Yeah.
Like the
That's
instant,
just
like
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
instant. I've noticed that they like things
Now.
now.
Yeah.
Yes,
They're,
they
they're
like
not willing.
things now.
They're not willing
yes.
to take their time and go through the steps. They just
Exactly.
want things. Because the thing is, they have iPads and all the electronics. So if they want to go on the internet, they just go to the internet. Bam. They have everything instant.
So we would like to see them
Patient.
to take
Patient,
patience
okay, so we said
to understand perhaps, or to
persistent.
understand the way that they think.
Yeah.
Like with your daughter, like for her to understand the process, she probably needs to understand, okay, what did I do previously that got me in a situation from A to B?
Yeah.
So is there something that I can perhaps replicate?
Mhm.
So that understanding
So
of
patient,
metacognition
persistent.
and the understanding of
Listening with understanding,
Yes.
maybe.
analyzing.
And,
Yeah.
Analyzing.
And again, the metacognition process that
Oh,
she
yes.
mentioned about understanding, moving from point A to B. How did I get there, and can I transfer that?
Yes, having that plan in, you know, in mind.
Perfect. Anything else? Have we covered all?
Yeah.
You think
Great.
so? Okay, perfect. So save
I'll
it.
save it
Yeah.
so that we can, okay, so now what we would like them to do is this. Now, we would like you to explore the habits of mind. The habits of mind are 16. And we are going to give you, and they were developed by Art Costa and Ben Akali. And they're two educational psychologists. They actually came here to FIU for 3 consecutive years, and they provided workshops for students and faculty. I don't know if any of you had the chance to attend the workshop. It was in January. And so what they did, they developed these 16 habits of mind, and they believe that these habits are essential for problem solvers. So for individuals who, whether they're students or whether you are not a student or a child or any other person, who use these habits to solve a problem, an issue, even when the solution is not immediately there for them. So what we would like to do is we're going to have you do an activity, and we're going to use the concept attainment map, which is a concept map that was developed by Jerome Bruner, who is a very well-known educational psychologist. And so what we would like you to do is to choose one of these habits. And we have the habits here. And we would like you to select one of them. Actually, I'm sorry, let me go back. We would like you to come up here so that you can also stretch out. And we would like you to work in groups of
Let's see. We
2,
have, oh, we can do perhaps 3.
because then we can do
Okay.
3. Groups of 2, choose one habit that you would like to explore, and then we will give you the concept attainment map to conduct the activity.
Okay, so we put it in a very tricky manner. What you're gonna see first is the definition of the habit. So just come, take a few minutes, read, and pick the one that you find more interesting.
And you would like
And
to
then
explore
you
more.
will be exploring that habit of mine. So it's gonna be one habit per team. So we will have 1 team, 2, and 3. So go ahead and
Together, go pick your habit, and I'll give you the
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is this. We're gonna give you this. There's one, we only have 4 because we thought that we were gonna have 4 people, so please share. And what you're gonna see in this package is basically explains about each of the habits a little bit more in depth. So in this packet, find your habit. So for example, this group has managing impulsivity. So I'm going to turn to page 8, and this group is going to read about the habit of mind number 2, managing impulsivity. And then what you would do is that you would use this concept attainment map to give an example of a person, an individual who manages his or her impulsivity. Then you will give a counter example, which will be the opposite. So let me use as an example a habit that you have not chosen. So for example, thinking with understanding and empathy. If I will give an example and help me with this, what example could I give? With listening and understanding with empathy. What would be an example of a person who listens with understanding and empathy? What would you see them doing or
Trying to read their
saying?
shoes, like trying to see their point of view.
Okay.
Very good. Try to be, in somebody else's shoes. Okay. Try to see the issue from a different perspective. Excellent. Now, what will be a counterexample? What will be the opposite?
Judging their actions.
Judging somebody, judging their actions. You said
somebody's
something
feelings.
earlier too. Jumping
Jumping
into conclusion.
Ignoring the feelings of someone.
Ignoring the feelings. So that will be a counterexample. And then here you would say, how does it sound like? Think about how would listening with understanding and empathy sound like?
Perhaps a lot of silence, because you're really listening to what the other person is saying, Or how,
okay.
you can be creative.
Be creative. Okay, here is like really use your imagination. How does it look like? Listening with, so you would draw how listening with understanding and empathy would look like. And here, how does it feel like? Okay? How does it feel like? Where somebody listens to you with understanding and empathy, how does it make you feel, for example? But again, be creative. And then here, a generalization. Managing impulsivity is like what? I'm sorry.
No.
Listening with understanding and empathy.
So
It's like,
What is listening with understanding and empathy?
It's two individuals sharing a conversation where you get to really put yourself into somebody else's shoes and you're not judging.
And it doesn't even have to be this long. It can be listening with understanding and empathy is looking at the world through different lenses. Okay, so anything, again, see, they can be different, they can be long, they can be short, they can be, use your imagination. Okay, we'll give you 30 seconds to do this. I'm joking. 5 minutes?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes.
good. And then you will share. You will bring it here, and we will share in the using the document camera because we want to see your drawings. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you get one?
Yeah, so
You're doing this together.
here. Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
you
So
can,
it's two
yes.
of you and then two of them and two of them. So you will have the same information.
Okay.
So 5 minutes.
Okay, great, very good. So since you're all done and ready to share, we would like you to, maybe you can both, it's up to you, you can both come up here and we're going to use the document camera to share your work, and then you can talk about it, or you just one of you. It's really up to you.
So what we would like for you, when you get here, tell us what is your habit of mind. Give us your own definition, and then go ahead and present your art of work. So do we have a first group? There we go.
This is
Okay.
Picasso. It's Picasso.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, very good. You can put it, let me see.
That way, yeah. Excellent.
This is very well.
Perfect, that way.
Great.
Yes, okay,
Good.
so, perfect, so group one, what was your habit of mind?
Managing impulsivity.
Okay.
Right.
And that's more of like planning and thinking before you do certain things.
Great. So you're sharing about your, what you learned about the habit. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So, go ahead, please.
So for example, we have raising hands, raising hand before answering. You find that in the classroom that students, they have something to say and it's really, they want to answer the question because they know the answer and they shout it out before taking time to wait their turn.
Or
So,
thinking about the answer before they
Very
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
because sometimes as soon as the teacher is not even done finishing
And
asking
you're
the
ready to
question,
see them. Me, 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 me.
and yes, so that's very true.
Okay, so that would be one example.
And
then
the
what-
counter example,
shouting out the answer. That was our counter example. Just shouting out answers. And it also can be, some examples can be planning ahead before you do something, like planning before you do your work. How they teach kids in school to plan out their writing prompts.
Okay.
Before they solve a problem, they gather the equations or stuff like that. So it's more, you could do planning, for example. A counter example would be just going right to the work, not reading directions, not reading anything.
Okay.
yeah.
picking up the answer before even
Yes.
reading them all, or
Mhm.
yes.
Again, so understanding the problem and not jumping into solving a problem without really understanding what the problem is about. So that is kind of like managing impulsivity. Perfect, okay.
So it sounds like, talk up to us about that.
So we said it sounds like an organized conversation because if it's teacher led by the children raising their hands, everyone's not shouting out at one time. The teacher can call on you, so that way it's organized. Everybody gets to hear others speaking. And then silence is if they're actually taking time out to plan what they're doing. They're more of thinking and not so much talking.
So if I'm correct, what I hear you saying is that managing impulsivity sounds like a quiet and organized conversation without too much noise, when everyone is working,
Harmoniously.
yes, harmoniously. Very good. How about feels like? Talk to us about how it feels like.
It feels like patience. When students learn to take turns, they learn to exercise patience in allowing someone to take turn, go before them, or wait until their turn. I remember in one of my classes, my field experience classes, students wanted to go to the bathroom, and everybody wanted to go at the same time. And the teacher says no. So everybody had to come back and they had to wait their turn. And it was more organized. Go to the
Okay.
bathroom.
Good, and it looks like?
Explain your work of art.
Okay, so I draw a child shouting, and I did an X to say not to shout. So it sounds like not shouting, it sounds like silence. It sounds
Oh,
like-
great. So the X stands for,
No,
if
it's
I
not.
understand correctly, no shouting,
No shouting.
not allowed.
Not allowed.
Very good. And tell us a little bit about your generalization.
Okay, gotcha. Thinking before acting and taking turns. So mainly, it's managing impulsivity is thinking before you do something, thinking before your action.
Very good, excellent. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so.
Who would like to go next? You're leaving her by yourself.
Okay, so yours was
We have thinking
medical,
about your
okay.
The way we thought of thinking about your thinking, what it meant, it was actually thinking before you actually, you actually spoke to others, or you actually speak to when you wanted to do something. So our example was choosing words carefully when trying to explain your opinion or voice your opinion onto somebody else. The counter example was not accepting others' opinion, thinking that you're always right, and acting out of impulse.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. When you said the counterexample is, I have always right. So why do you think metacognition leads you, or not having metacognition perhaps, leads you to think you're always right? Why?
Why does it lead you to think that you're not always right?
No,
that
that
you're
you
always
are,
right?
you are, because you are never always right.
Because you're thinking that your opinion is the only one that matters. Like your opinion is actually the one that you think you know something, so that leads you to think. I've thought about it. I've exhausted my options. I've thought of many other like different things, and I've come back to the same conclusion. So to me, I'm right. That's
And I'm sorry, but I didn't hear you when you said, what is metacognition? What is what you find out? What will be a brief summary of metacognition?
To me, metacognition is actually reflecting upon my own way of thinking about how I'm going to be doing things daily in life in general.
So you have a plan. If I hear you
Right.
saying,
Just generalizing and gathering my thoughts and breaking them down and weighing my options before I actually go about and do something or say something to somebody.
and sometimes, I'm sure that all of us, if we are not metacognizant, then when we have to do many things. We have to complete many tasks. And sometimes we need to have multiple plans for multiple tasks because I have to go to work and I have to do this and I have to do that, and then I have to go into school and I have to make sure that I do this correctly, and then I have to pick up my kids. And so you have your whole plan for your day, so it's a complex task.
It's like trying to be aware of everything that you need to be doing to continue on with your life.
Or reading, even our children, when they read a passage, are they comprehending? Am I using, my strategies in order to be able to really comprehend what I'm reading or when I'm solving a problem? Same thing.
What we thought it sounded like, it was like a construction site. It's busy, it has a lot of noises, you're trying to focus on one thing, but then you're hearing something else. Like typing fast, where you're just like going with a pace and then a clock, tick-tock, like you have time, so you're rushed, you're feeling like you have to get an answer, like somehow you have to find it, and if not, then move on. So that's what we thought it sounded like. Also, to me, what it sounds like is like I'm stuck in a room and there's a lot of things happening outside, but then I'm just, all of a sudden I'm in a bubble and it's me, myself, and my thinking rationality. That's me. So, what it feels like is that it was busy, like your heart rate speeds up, like you're having anxiety, like your palms are sweaty, like you're trying to think of so many things. And what it looks like, we have a clock, we have a jigsaw, we have a hammer, and a little nail.
So, thinking about your thinking is?
We put understanding that things are not always black and white, that we always have to weigh our options, or we always have to see one thing and then see the other side of it like a coin. There's always two sides, so we always have to.
Now it's interesting that you said that understanding, thinking about your thinking is understanding that things are not always black and white. So I find it very interesting that it goes to how it feels like, because this will tell me that you know that you have certain processes in your mind, that you know that you will be able to apply in order to be able to reach that black and white decision. But yet, in the world, you're always busy. You suffer from anxiety, from making kind of like black and white decision, and your heart rate is very speed up. So you have the understanding of how to make decisions, but yet it feels like,
because you have to focus, as you said, there are
It's
so
not
many
easy,
things
yeah.
happening that you really need to focus, and all those things are actually, happening in your body. I really like how the sounds like too, because it really, when you share that, it really makes me visualize what metacognition was. And this is a great strategy that can be used to really analyze a concept, and using not just one way of thinking, not just writing a sentence, but also other senses. So it's in a different way. So it really gives you the opportunity to internalize
Right.
what that concept means. Thank you so much, that was great. And now, we have the last
Last but
group.
not least.
There we go. Look, who is the painter, the artist?
She's the artist, I'm not.
Okay, so it's responding with wonderment and
Oh, correct.
So some of the examples that we had were being enthusiastic, being immersed, and observing the activity and the learning that you were doing. Some of the counter examples would be being closed-minded, being bored, not really putting a lot of effort, just not really being enthusiastic or wondering by it.
It sounds like this is what we wrote, but when you're learning, you go, wow, that's cool. You go, you gasp, you go, oh, when you like learning something new. Our drawing
Yeah.
is a little man going up a mountain and he wants to learn more, so you can see over the mountain and see the sun, right? So when you want to learn more, you move up slowly and steady. If you want to actually learn more, like you try to do more effort.
More effort, but and also more effort when
Yeah.
you actually are engaged in
Correct.
activities.
And what it feels like, you feel excited, you feel enlightenment, you feel enjoyment when you actually do what you're doing and you actually want to learn more about it. And our generalization is opening your mind to, and seeing
to
worlds,
learning and seeing the
worlds,
wonderment.
Yes.
I like it. It's really good. Yes.
Mhm.
I find it interesting. I'm kind of like a visual person, so I like the mountain because it feels like, you know, in order to reach a goal, perhaps in that case, if I
Yeah.
interpret it the way that I think you might, but it might be different, is you, in order to reach to the top of the mountain, that would be your goal. You still need to keep that wonderment and awe, because if you feel like, oh, I've seen it all,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
why would I get to the top of the mountain? The sun is the sun,
Yeah.
the sky is the sky.
Yes.
So in order for you to keep on moving, to find the strength within yourself to move into different tasks, you need to be able to maintain that naiveness, if you want to, that passion. So that pretty much, in my mind, that's what it entails. It looks like somebody who will go the extra mile, will take the effort to see the beauty in every activity
Correct.
that you do. Again, even if it means reading, you need to maintain that wonderment or awe about reading to interpret, okay, what is it that the reading is trying to tell me? If I get to the end of the story, what would I learn? So you need to keep that wonderment and awe.
And also, I think this is what I understood from the sounds like and the feels like. If I walk into a classroom and I hear those sounds from the students, and I see that, I feel that it's exciting and they're enjoying it, to me it makes me understand that this habit is essential for motivation, to really push them, to really go that extra mile. And this is something that we sometimes forget and we don't value, but it's extremely important.
I think it's true, really being motivated really helps them learn, and if they don't care about, they're just doing it to do it, and I really absorb, they really enjoy what they're doing, it's just gonna go right over the heads of them.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was excellent. Thank you. Yeah, that was excellent. Very good. So, I have I think so.
Yes. There you go.
So now you were kind enough to touch upon 3 of them. That we want to give you the list of all the 16 habits of mine. So we can start kind of talking about them. So we did talk about the first one, persisting. That is a habit of mine that some of you discussed at the beginning that you would like to see children sharing.
Yes, it's basically, when my answer is not there, instead of giving up, or when I'm doing something, persisting. What else can I do? Keep on trying, like your son, instead of throwing the toy, which is very typical, okay? I mean, you're gonna see this behavior for another year or 2, but if we help him understand that, okay, well, what else can we do if he's exposed to these strategies that is going to help him be more persistent? sooner or later he will, maybe in 7 years, but he will.
So all 16 are managing impulsivity, listening with understanding and empathy. We also talked about the thinking flexibly, that we also want them to be able to
Yes.
come up with different solutions and do not get frustrated and stick to only one.
And also being able to, not necessarily change your mind, but being able to take a look at an issue through the different perspectives and then see, oh, I can see your point. I still believe, I still keep my belief, my point of view, but I can see how you think, so.
Thinking about thinking, metacognition, the striving for accuracy, is that we want our students, all of us, to be able to express ourselves in an accurate manner, so we are able to make all of us understandable. Questioning and posing problems, which we also talked about, applying past knowledge to new situations. This is being able to transfer what we have learned before, and to be, acknowledgeable that we have the knowledge and to bring it into any new situation. Thinking and communicating with clarity and precision. Gathering data through all senses. We usually tend to do mostly through our hearing and eyes, but we can also do it through our,
Yes.
what else?
Others,
Mouth. What were the other senses? Smell
touch.
and touch. There we go.
So using all those senses, providing activities for our students and children that are going to allow them to use their senses to analyze and observe.
Go ahead.
Creating, imagining, and innovating. So creating something new, responding with wonderment and awe. Taking responsible risks. Sometimes, our students don't take responsible risks. For instance, some students, if we're having a discussion, if 3 of the students, or the majority of the students, agree on a particular, have one opinion, and he or she is the only one who has a different opinion, taking a responsible risk would be, well, I really don't think the same way you think. This is my opinion, although you know that you might be judged, your opinion might not be accepted, but you're still taking a responsible risk. This is just an example. Finding humor is extremely important. Whenever we can, we need to find humor in whatever we do, because if not, it gets too
Daunting.
Yes. And then thinking interdependently, working with people, with others, working together to solve issues. And so these are the 16 habits of mind, and they were developed based on other theories. So for example, Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theories, David Perkins, Reuben Feuerstein, who is a very famous educational psychologist, who he believed that he developed the theory of modifiability. He believes that the brain is, the mind is modifiable. And so by helping children and individuals to master, to internalize these habits, that's how you can also modify anybody's mind, because he worked with children who were intellectually handicapped.
Exactly. And if we go back very quickly, I wanted to go back to the ways that you mentioned how you would like to see your students or children behave, and we asked you at the beginning of the presentation. You will see that those that we wrote down, they're here.
Yes.
So
Do you see,
we'll
do you
see
see
that
the
there is a
relationship?
correlation, that relationship between the way that you think children should be behaving, you would like them to see, and these are habits of mind that they do require work, but the sooner we start introducing them into their lives, the sooner it's going to be internalized, and they're going to be part of themselves, and even ourselves. So let me.
And it's a process. We can skip that.
Yeah.
It's a process, and that's the thing, that it doesn't happen overnight. But habits are internalized, as you said, after they're repeated. So if we want our children to be persistent, we can't expect that, this week we're gonna do persistent, we're gonna use this habit of mine, and then after a week, they will have internalized it. All these habits, all these strategies and the habits should be fostered on a daily basis, no matter what we do, for our students and for ourselves. Because the habits are also something that you are never going to reach perfection, because some people can be too persistent, too much. So sometimes you can have too much of a habit. So you really have to learn how to let go and be a little, but sometimes you have very little. So, managing your impulsivity, for example, or I have to, one of the habits I still have to master is listening with understanding and empathy, because sometimes when somebody's talking, I'm already thinking about if they say something that reminds me of something else that I want to say right away, I tend to say something. So I have to really think and control that and find the strategies.
Yeah.
And these habits are also interconnected.
Yes. So why habits of mind? Therefore, Dr. Foerch kind of like talked about them. So they are transdisciplinary. We can use them in any field. We can use them in adults and in children. These are, again, skills, attitudes, dispositions that we would like to see in our 21st century students, and you will see them very much embedded in the Common Core standards that you start teaching them, because we're asking them to be more reflective of their thinking. So these are attitudes, complex skills that we want them to develop. So curriculum mind shift, so we would like them to see from not knowing only the right answers to, Daniela, read it?
Also to knowing how to behave when the answer is not immediately there. So we want that thinking. And it's something that we don't have most of the times. Again, why? Because we ask them questions and we want the right question right away. We don't wait and we don't allow thinking to happen because they need to pass this test. So let me help them pass the test, because I don't have time for them to become thinkers.
Feed them the answer.
With signs or with,
Like, for example, if you don't give me the right answer, I'm not gonna help you, we don't have time to help you understand. I'm gonna say, Brittany, I know you always answer my questions. Please answer this question now, because we have to move on to the next.
That's the problem. We work too much about the tests and not enough about the learning, and that's the problem when they leave school sometimes. They don't really learn. They're just repeating just for the exam, and when they leave, they're not really learning.
Exactly. And then when they're in high school, it's even harder, because even if you try to teach them something differently, especially if they have to take an exam on SAT, they say, is this going to be on the test? Because if it's not going to be on the test,
I don't know. They put it aside.
Why should I learn something more if you're not going to test me on it? So it's a problem that we're seeing beginning in pre-K up until college.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Especially in college, yes. I've seen that where you as the teacher what's going to be in the test, and you study what's going to be on the test.
exactly. You're not going to study anything extra.
So that goes to what you were saying. So we have the content, which is what we want the student to basically be able to understand, to transfer. We give them the thinking skills, the cognitive tasks, skillful thinking, and you see how the habits of mind, they are embedded in the cognitive, the thinking, and the content, because all those different 16 skills would allow us to move the content from just an abstract into a reality by persisting, by metacognition, understanding how we think, by finding perhaps humor in what we learn, by developing ourselves as lifelong learners instead of just being, driven by the test and by the grade that we will get. So habits of mind, having those skills, attitudes, it really enrich the way that we learn. So it goes above and everything else, the content.
So for example, if I want students to to read a book, and I want them to learn the perspective, the characters, okay? Analyzation of characters. That will be my content. But as a thinking skill, I also want them to be empathetic. And I want them to listen with understanding and empathy. I want them to also be metacognitive, and I also want them to manage their impulsivity. So what I would do, I will create a cognitive task. These two are very close to one another. A cognitive task where maybe, if they're young children, I would like them to step inside the characters, maybe dress up as the characters, and tell me, now imagine you're the character, and imagine that you are, the other character. How do you feel? Why are you saying those words? Why are you acting this way? So that, and at the same time, everybody has to learn and listen with one another, and respect is fostered. And that embraces all the habits of mind. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
This is just one of the examples, but you create your own, you can create millions of them. And then we would like to leave you with a question to ponder, because I know that you have thinking right now, you're going to be reflecting. How would you encourage the students in your classroom if you are not teachers? How would you encourage the children around you, whether they're your own kids or family members or children that you know, to nurture one or more of the habits of mind? So this will be something that we would like you to think about, and if you would like to share it with us and email us back, it will be great. You don't have to, but you're encouraged to do it.
Well, for me, like, in the case of my daughter, like, when you asked me that, like, I was already thinking, how she's very impulsive in that sense. Like, she'll get a paper and she can't do it perfectly, and she'll crumble it and she'll walk away. So then I'm thinking, how can I help her, surpass that frustration stage? And lately in school, they were grabbing leaves, and then last night we went to the garden, we grabbed leaves, and then she got upset because the marker, she couldn't trace the leaf perfectly. It would keep on moving. So then I was like, just keep on trying. Then today I'm thinking, well, to not make her feel that much frustration, I'll help her thinking, okay, how can we resolve this? How can we fix it? Let me put tape on the leaf. I'm thinking I should have put tape on the leaf. Make her trace it, and then untake it and then put it into another one. And I'm thinking that way maybe she can find herself different ways that she can actually think. What else can she use to keep on that task but not give up? So
but I think it's very good what you said. You said, I have to ask her questions, I have to help her, what other ways, because if I do it for her,
then she comes back to me, she's like, she's told me before, you do it. I'm like, no, you can do it. She's like, no.
If it doesn't work, it's going to be your fault.
Exactly. So then,
but if she thinks about it, then it's her own
responsibility,
her own ideas.
And you're helping her to pose questions of, okay, how can I fulfill this task? Perhaps mommy can give me some input, and then she will make, the final decision. But she's the one posing the questions to you. So that would be a way to kind of maneuver, not an impulsivity issue.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Great. Anybody else would like to share now?
Yeah, I remember something with my nephew with writing. He would write terrible. I mean, you couldn't understand a thing he wrote. And I said to him, no, Mom, look at what you did. Do you understand what he wrote? But because he wants to finish really fast. So he's not thinking about how it looks or how the teacher's gonna feel, or he just wants to finish what he's doing. And I say, take your time and formulate it properly. Just take your time. And now he's writing so beautifully just by using a little patience, thinking, managing impulsivity, and also
persisting, but he's persisting.
Yes.
And he's thinking about perhaps the teacher, because you said think about how the teacher
would feel.
Yes.
So
you manage all those habits
all
of
three,
mind.
I'm just thinking about it. You manage all three in one just by stopping and doing it slowly, you know?
But that's a very good observation, because if you, if you take a look at the habits again, they are all, many of them are interconnected.
Yeah.
So you don't have to teach or foster
Just
one at a
one.
time, but once we have internalized them, or we know them, and we know what each of them means, and we know how to foster them in the classroom, then we're gonna start thinking, oh, now this is a way for us to, but it's something that is very, very important, is that the children learn the names of the habits. Okay, well, right now, you need to manage your impulsivity. Okay, how can you manage your impulsivity? Let's have a meeting. What is going on? Okay, and so the vocabulary is also important, because
So
they will
begin to-
not, when they need this strategy, if they don't know the name, they will not be able to name it and to express what is happening in their mind.
Also, when you give praise, to mention these
Very
things.
good,
Say,
yes.
Say,
Yeah.
Sarah, I like the way you were persistent in completing the question.
You know what? This is excellent.
Point.
Yes, because when we praise, we have to be very specific.
Yeah.
Many times we feel, oh, good job,
I know.
excellent. But this is a great,
Yeah.
great way. Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Very good. Well, do you have any questions?
No.
Before we really appreciate taking the time to be here, and some of you I know
But if you have any
were
questions.
invited.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.